All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today is a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about why I decided to start this channel and why kickboxing. So I just want to note that I run a podcast, and on that podcast, click the link below, but on that podcast, I've often talked about being an alcoholic ever since I was 18. So my family, at least on my dad's side, they're all pretty much alcoholics. They died of alcoholism, whether it's pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, my dad's brothers, and miraculously, my dad was one of the only few that actually quit alcohol when he met my mom. So I don't know what kind of agreements they had or arguments they had or whatever road they had to go through. But when I was born, my dad told me that he decided to just completely kick alcohol, which is amazing because when it comes to addictions and alcohol, it's very, very serious, as you all know, and some people just never make it out of it. So when I was about 18, that's when it really started ramping up. I started drinking every day, and I'm not just talking about just beers here and there. I'm talking about 720 milliliters, those big bottles of whiskey, particularly cheap whiskey, but you know, doesn't make a difference. And that was every night. I got into alcoholism or alcohol at a very early age, and it became a very, very powerful habit. So fast forward throughout my years in my 20s, I've gotten 3 DUIs, I've gotten into all sorts of trouble, I've gotten to fights, and mind you, this was before I started doing martial arts. I've been doing martial arts for over a decade now. I'm 39 years old, and I do jiu-jitsu, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, pretty much the whole everything. So I found kickboxing first when I was 29. And mind you, I was still drinking at the time. My life was fucked up. My relationships were broken. My girlfriend had just broke up with me. And yeah, I just needed to find an outlet. So I had a realization that I needed to quit. So for about a year and 2 months, I decided to quit alcohol, and I was scrolling through Instagram, and you know, I happened to come across this, I guess you could say, fighting page or combat sports page. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I want to do that, right? I needed to pick up a hobby because I had dropped alcohol. And I just honestly wanted to look cool. I wanted to get more in shape. It wasn't really to fight. It wasn't for anything like that. It wasn't to compete. It was a means for me to kind of exercise, because I do have a background in high school of lifting, but you know, lifting is way different. It's good for you, but it's way different than actually like actual cardio for your whole body, like a HIIT movement, kind of high interval training kind of movement. And that's really what kickboxing was. So when I quit for that year and 2 months, I had a coworker that taught boxing at first. And so I decided to sign up with him, and we hit those mitts, just like the ones back there. He held mitts for me, and I started my boxing journey. Just like anyone else, I was doing repetitions on the bag, just like how I'm showing you on these videos. And he was telling me how to move. He was telling me the proper way to punch. And that's when my life started to change. Now, mind you, this was maybe about in my late 20s, mid 20s, and I was still drinking. I was still drinking heavily, but I had quit. So for that year and 2 months, all I focused in on was boxing. So I got really good at boxing, and at least like the motions of how to punch, how to move, the footwork. And by then, I just, you know, something happened, and I met a girl. It was a toxic relationship, and I had gotten back into alcohol. But what I'm really proud of and what I'm really thankful for is that I actually never stopped. Even though I fell back into drinking, I never stopped martial arts. Like, I kept boxing. after I picked up drinking again in my late 20s and early 30s. I had moved to San Diego, where I was trying to find boxing gyms around there because I started with boxing, but then I had like a little epiphany in my head where I told myself, oh wait, why don't I just maybe try kickboxing, like Muay Thai kickboxing? And I didn't really know what that sport entailed, the details of that sport. I just thought that it was adding the elbows and the knees and kicks, right? Like, I'm like, wait, that's boxing just with elbows, knees, and kicks. Why not? So I actually Yelped it and I got into this gym called Carlsbad Kickboxing. And what I thought what Muay Thai and kickboxing in general was, man, I had a completely different vision in my head of what it was, because the movements are a lot different. Even the punches are different, but they're the same. I know that kind of contradicts itself, but how you stand in Muay Thai is different. Because boxers, they don't have to worry about kicks. And kickboxers, you have to worry about kicks. So there's all these defense. You got to worry about those and not just block with your hands. You have to block with your feet and or your shin. You got to lift your foot up, which obviously I'll explain in the next few videos. But I then started my Muay Thai journey and I felt like I was starting over. So mind you, I got to remind you again that I picked drinking back up because like all these things were going on in my life, and as an addict I didn't know how to deal with it, so I kind of went back to alcohol. Fast forward, I continued on. One thing I knew I was good at besides drinking alcohol is consistency. That's probably why I was so consistent drinking and addiction, is because that's one skill that I'm not really good at anything, but that one skill is what I'm good at. I'm pretty consistent in a lot of things. The way I wake up, what time I wake up, the way I'm punctual to work, I show up on work on time, I just show up on time, and I already knew that. So I continued my kickboxing journey, so to speak, and I was very consistent at it, and I got really good at it. In Muay Thai, there's a clinch, so it's actually a form of, I guess you could say, grappling, where you're grabbing the neck, you're trying to bring their head down, and then you're going for knees and elbows, again, which I'll show you in future videos. But it was a lot different from boxing, but I was open to the challenge. I wasn't just gonna quit because it was a lot different. Again, one of my biggest strengths is consistency. So I decided to kickbox and alcohol. I always like to make this example of my alcoholism and the martial arts that I created a very powerful habit of doing. We're always in a fight with each other. So the reason why I'm teaching kickboxing is that it is my first love. It is my first combat sports. With boxing, that's what I did first, but then that's what I got introduced to, and I did love it. But kickboxing, you just use all the extremities of your body, and it was a way for me for at least an hour and a half to forget all about my problems, because initially that's what I was drinking for, is to get away from problems. And I think for most people, that's why they honestly take substances and drink, and of course inheritance, but I'm not gonna go into all that. So after kickboxing, I really loved it. It was my life, and I had hope, I had energy, I had a lot of my angst and energy to put into something positive other than just drinking every night. Now, I wasn't the type of drinker to wake up in the morning. I know there's different types, because I have been to AA and some programs, which didn't really work out for me, but again, that's another story within itself. So after kickboxing, I loved it so much that I got into coaching, and this was still in San Diego. I was still living at San Diego at the time. I'm in Vegas now, and I started just going on Amazon. I decided to get mitts, hold mitts for people. I even trained a kid at his own restaurant, at his dad's restaurant, after my shift, because I love coaching so much for free. I wanted to get skilled at coaching. I love teaching. I love the different descriptions, and I like breaking things down because I think that's the proper way to teach and not just show it as a whole. I like to break things down in the steps, and I really fell in love with coaching, particularly kickboxing. Now, again, the reason why combat, and it's not just kickboxing too, because after kickboxing, I got into jiu-jitsu because if in my head, I think of martial arts as a practical sport. So if in my head, if someone took me down, then I wouldn't know what to do in the ground. So after kickboxing, which I was still doing kickboxing, I tried out jiu-jitsu. So I was doing both. I moved over to a jiu-jitsu gym, which had a kickboxing gym, and I took over their program. Shout out San Diego Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I took over their program as the head Muay Thai coach. And I learned a lot from there. I learned a lot of coaching experiences. I dealt with numerous different types of people, and I loved it. I taught kids. I was teaching everyone. And what I've come to find out about kickboxing is that it makes you very, very confident. And it makes you very fit, and you learn the skill of self-defense. When you add all those ingredients together, I believe that it'll make your life better 100% of the time, 120% of the time. Number one, with the confidence factor, is that it's your whole embodiment. Studies show that if you're confident and you believe in yourself, which makes you believe in yourself and your skills and the way you carry yourself, other people can see that. Other people know that you're just a confident person, and they tend to treat you different. Not that it should matter what the externals of the externalities of what people think about you, but honestly, it does matter because we're social human beings. And the way I started to carry myself after I did martial arts, and I'll tell you this before I go on, is that martial arts is one of those sports where if you've been around those gyms, you're not gonna be a bully. I would recommend every parent to get their kids to take martial arts classes of any form, mostly jiu-jitsu, just because, you know, there's no punching involved, and, you know, you're just grabbing for the most part. To me, there's probably less chance of injuries as an adolescent. But enroll your kids. I would highly recommend this, and coaches all around martial arts would too, is enroll your kids in a martial arts because, number one, it teaches them to be humble and respectful, because they're gonna find out really quick that if they are a little bit of, you know, if they are a little undisciplined, they're gonna find out really quick that they can't bully anyone. And because someone's always gonna be better at them at that sport. Even when they say for example, even if they get good at kickboxing, if they enroll them into kickboxing, number one, they're spending all that energy in the kickboxing gym, which at home they don't have time. They're spending that positive energy at that kickboxing gym, so they're tired as hell when they get home. But number two, it teaches them that someone is always going to be better at them, which is a very, very humbling experience. Now, I'm not trying to tell you, you know, how to raise your kids. I'm not involved. I don't even have kids of my own, but it's just my experiences from what other parents tell me, their feedback into what they see in their own kids. They're much more respectful. They're much more disciplined. They wake up a lot earlier. They get tired when they get home because, like I said, they're expending all that energy into something good, which is kickboxing. Now, some people might think, wait, they're learning violence and know how to punch. It's the other way around. It's just the environment that martial arts teaches you. I guarantee you, if it's a really good martial arts gym and they have really good coaches and a good staff, they're gonna teach your kid how to be disciplined and how to treat people the right way and how to be humble and approach everything with humility. So that's another one why I really, really love kickboxing. And for the adults, man, if you're stuck in life, I say start moving your body. Start moving your body, because like what the Stoics said, you have to move your body so your mind won't be disobedient. You have to move your body rigorously so your mind won't be disobedient, because they're both connected to each other. And after you expended all that energy, man, your mind is calm. I don't even care about anything after I do an hour and a half or an hour of just straight moving in martial arts. It doesn't even have to be fighting or sparring people, just hitting a bag for an hour or 30 minutes or even 15 minutes. You know, if you go really hard with proper technique, number one, it feels good. Number two, you learn all the skills. Number three, it makes you confident. And so the point is that once you have that confidence in you and you start to realize that there is these evidence that, wow, I can kick, I'm actually doing this. I can punch properly, and look at all the power when I throw this punch at the bag. Wow, because you can't fake it. You can't fake the skill of kickboxing. That's gonna go into your subconscious, and I promise you, you will carry yourself different. You will walk different, you will talk different. If you have a slouch posture, you're kind of being like, hey, what's up guys? You're gonna be a lot more friendlier, you're gonna treat people a lot nicer. It's just a whole environmental shift change. Man, I can't even stress enough. And you have to do it in order to get what I'm saying. I can explain to you all I want, but it is an outlet. If you ever feel stuck in life, you will start to see yourself change. Now, back to my story where, so I was still drinking while I was doing martial arts, and I moved back to Vegas because my mom had Alzheimer's and I needed to take care of them. That's when everything really hit me all at once. That I was like, oh man, with all the things that happened that I fast forward to, which I didn't talk to in video, maybe eventually as I make these videos, but after all the relationships that I've ruined, and I take full blame of it, after all the DUIs that I've gotten, after all the fights that I thought I was tough in, and which was completely pointless, that got me in trouble, which almost pretty much ruined my life. You know, with the DUIs too, I nearly could have killed someone, which I highly regret. Like, never do that. I never want to condone that. After my mom got Alzheimer's and my dad hitting old age, I realized that I needed to do something. And I just had an epiphany. My why was very, very strong at that point to quit alcohol. Now, I mentioned that I went to AA, and you know, for anyone, whatever works for you, do whatever works for you. Take whatever program you have to. Go to AA twice a day, whatever you have to do. Personally, it didn't work out for me. I don't know what it was. It was some sort of martial arts. Since I took up martial arts, it was a little bit of luck. I don't know what it was. Maybe willpower, maybe all of that drove me to quit alcohol. So it's been about 2.5 years now, and proudly I say I'm sober. It's just because it didn't serve me anymore for what I wanted in the future. This is the main reason why I'm passing it along to you. I'm doing this channel because, again, for anyone that feels stuck, mostly, you know, anyone, but for whatever age you're at, men, women, especially in your mid-age, if you think you're too old to start a crazy sport like this because you're fighting, it doesn't have to be like that. Kickboxing is for everyone. Just as long as you're active, you're moving your body, you get more fit, you learn self-defense, and that's also empowering, learning self-defense. When you learn self-defense, that also relates to being confident. When you're fit and learn self-defense, because that is the slogan for this channel, and just this, whatever this is I'm doing, is confidence, fitness, and self-defense. Those trifecta is just going to change your whole life, and you're going to carry yourself in a different way. People will start treating you different. You will start moving different. Even your sleep, everything snowballs in a positive way. since you are working out and doing this kickboxing and you got really good at it and you're proud of it, that you're learning the skill and now you know how to defend yourself and you got fit, maybe you were overweight, you lost 30, 40 pounds, man, like, you got your life back. If you don't have health, you have nothing. Long story short, I'm 39 years old now, and I've never had health issues. I know I told you that I drank a lot, but man, I was young. I was really young, so my body could take it. But now, getting into my older ages, turning 40 in about a few months, I'm really starting to feel it. I'm having GI problems, not to go too much into it, but I realized the importance of health. If you don't have health, you have nothing. Because if it's constantly in your head, not just the pains that are going on through your body, but if you're constantly worried and thinking about what's going to happen to you and you can't function properly, it's going to affect your everyday life. And this kickboxing thing and martial arts is just a means to get you back on track and get you to where you want to be. You don't have to do kickboxing. You really don't. You can go hiking, whatever your means is. But for me, and for the people that don't think you could kickbox because it's such a quote unquote violent sport, you don't have to fight anyone, man. You could just move around. You could just move around, punch, kick, and you could be active that way. Hell, you don't even need a bag. You could just shadow box. You could get really good at first just shadow boxing and learning all the motions like what I've been teaching you in this video. And you could get really good and eventually add, like, you don't even have to get this kind of bag. You can get just a cheap bag from Amazon and start doing the motions there. And you can just have a whole paradigm shift. Your life can change at an instant. As long as you're consistent, as long as you're committed, and as long as your why is strong enough. As long as the reason you're doing it is strong enough, I guarantee you'll find a way and you'll let go of those excuses that you have. Because I definitely did. And I'm very, very thankful. Again, I've been an alcoholic for nearly over 20 years, I believe. And I'm very, very thankful every day that I found martial arts, because I like to say this, at the end of the day, it beat up alcoholism for me. And now I'm confident. Now I've been the fittest I've ever been in my life. And I have the skills to defend myself. And that, my friends, is very empowering. Thanks for watching this video.